Hi viewers, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is HP Fashions GY. We'll be learning on how to cut and sew a halter neckline dress for a birthday shoot. Okay, so I'll be taking the full length of my dress now. I'll be using the length of 27. Then the shoulder wideness is actually 15.5, and I added seam allowance of ½ inch at the front. Then I'll be using armhole depth of 8, then half length of 16, then hip point of 22 and 23 and 24, sorry. That's it. So after that is done, I'll use my ruler now to connect the lines together, then bring down the armhole line down. All right, then I will go ahead and indicate what it is. This is my armhole, my waistline for half length, and this is actually my hip. All right, armhole, waist, hip, and full length at the down part of my dress. Okay, but for now, the length is actually not certain because I actually want it very short. So I'll be taking my bust measurement divided by 4. Then I will insert it on my armhole line with extra 1½ inches seam allowance. Then the next is the waist measurement divided by 4 as well. Then I'll just insert it right there with extra 1½ inch seam allowance. Then I'll go to my hip point. Hip of 40 divided by 4 is 10. Okay, then I'll have to place it right there with the same 1½ seam allowance. All right, so the next thing I'll do now is just to measure together with the 1½ I added. Right, I'll be having about 11½. Then I'll connect the bust measurement to the waist. Then I'll connect the waist to the hip. Okay, then I will stop right there for now while I take the measurements for the down part. All right, so remember the hip measurement together with the allowance I added is about 11½ inches. So I'll just take 10 at this point. Then I will connect the hip to the down part. All right, so I use 10 inches for the down, so you can go ahead and use 9 inches or anything you like. Okay, so this is actually what we have. So this is exactly what it is. Then from the armhole, I'll be going up by 1½ inches. All right, and I'll make my connection. I will definitely not leave it as 4 corner. I'll make my connection like a J shape facing right on the right hand side. All right, so once that is done, I'll go ahead and trace it all out. Then I will stop. I'll take it out. Okay, so this is what we have. All right, so I'll be using one pattern to get the front and the back. So I'll just bend it on the waist side like this. Then I'll place it on top of my main fabric to get the down part of the back side. I folded my fabric into 2. All right, so I'll place it this way to get the down part for the back, the back side. All right, I'll be leaving the zipper allowance for this. Zipper allowance of about 2 inches or 1½ inches. All depends on exactly what you want. So I'll be using 1½ for this. All right, so I'll just go ahead and trace it all out. Okay, so the reason why I folded from the waist side is actually the half length for the back. Is that the length is actually the half length, which I used 16 for it. So I'll just fold it this way and cut all the way out. After that, I'll go ahead and notch my zipper allowance at the upper part, just a little bit notch. Then I'll go ahead and divide the zipper allowance for the back side. All right, so this is what it is. So after that is done, I'll be keeping the fabric aside. I'll go ahead and keep it aside. All right, then I'll place my tape from the shoulder to the half length, which is 16. Then I'll go up by 14.5 inches. From the shoulder, I measured 14.5 inches. Then this is actually my 1.5 inches for the zipper for the seam allowance, and I'll be using 5 inches from at the front of the seam allowance. All right, I'll just make it 5.5. Then I will connect this way. It actually have an opening on the side, one side of the dress. All right, so I actually placed 14.5 from my shoulder downward is 14.5. All right, then I'll be using the neck depth of 2.5 inches, then the wideness of 3.5 inches for now. But this 3.5 inches is actually not for the neck wideness, okay? Because it's also, I'll be using wideness of 2.5 inches, while the other is actually for seam allowance. Then I'll slant my tape using a length of 12 inches from that point. Then afterwards, I'll just use my ruler to connect this. All right, I'll just use my ruler to connect this way. All right, well, I will still have to, let me just shift my ruler to connect to the other side, which is about 2.5. Okay, so this is what we have at this point. Then I will just connect the neck wideness to the depth. Remember, the wideness is 2.5, not up to 3 inches. All right, so this is what we have. Then I will go down by 3.5 from the neckline, then 3.5 inches. Then I'll go down by 8 inches on this side. Then the wideness is about 2.5 inches. Because of the style of the dress, it has an opening at the front. Then the wideness of the neck, I'll be using 1.5 inches. Then afterwards, I'll have to connect this together. Connect this together. Then place my ruler and do this connection now. All right, so this is what we have. This is how it looks like. Then I'll have to make my connection be more pronounced. So I'll just confirm to be very sure that it's actually up to 8 inches. Then if not, then I'll make my connection like this. I want the depth to be actually 8 inches. All right, so this is what we have. Once this is done, I'll go ahead and cut it all out. I'll go ahead and cut this out. All right, I'll go ahead and cut it all out. All right, so I'll keep this particular one aside for now. Then remove the middle neck, the opening for the neckline. All right, so I'll go ahead and cut it out. All right, so once this is done, now I'll just place the pattern back. Then I'll use my masking tape to hold it back because I'll be placing it on my main fabric. All right, and that opening is actually on one side of the dress. Okay, so we won't make that mistake of cutting the opening on both sides. And if the opening is actually on both sides, then there won't be need covering this pattern. Okay, so this is what we have. So I'll place it on my main fabric. I will also use a pin to secure this to get it exactly the way it is. All right, okay, so if I'm very certain about this, Then I'll still use my pin to secure this. The reason why I'm pinning it, I don't want the pattern to shift while I'm actually cutting it out. Alright, so I'll go ahead and cut this out. I'll go ahead and trace the pattern exactly the way it is. Alright, so alright, then I'll just trace it all out. Okay, so the reason why I pinned it is I wouldn't want any part of this to shift or whatsoever. Alright, so I want to get it exactly the way it is. Okay, so this is it. Then on the neckline, I'll cut it out gently, gently out. Alright, then for the neck opening on the neck side, so I'll take this out. On the neck opening, I actually want the depth. But the wideness at this point, I'm not taking it at the edge. I'll be leaving about half an inch of the fabric for seam allowance. Alright, then for the down part, for the other side, I'll be leaving about half an inch as well for seam allowance. So this is what we have. But the depth, I want the depth. So this is what it looks like on my fabric. So I had to spread my fabric open. I had to spread it open to get exactly the direction, the direction I want the opening to be. The opening, I want it to be at the right hand side. Alright, so I actually just made a little spacing of half an inch from the pattern to my main fabric for seam allowance. Alright, then I actually sprayed my fabric open and placed my pattern back on it, especially on the direction I would like the opening to be. Okay, so this is how it looks like. This is what it is. Then at this point now, I've divided the half length to get my back measurement. I'll be cutting this out because the neckline for the back, there is no neckline for the back. Alright, so I'm making a wideness of about 5 inches wide. 5 inches wide for this. 5 inches wide for my back. Alright, so I'll just go ahead and remove the upper part of this. Then this is what I have for my back. Then I'll go ahead and divide this out. Alright, so this two now I won't be needing it. This is the one I need. Alright, so I'll have to place it on my fabric. I won't be taking the pattern out completely because the opening is actually on one side of the back. It's not on both sides. So I'll just have to take my pattern exactly the way it is on the fabric for the two sides of it. After cutting, then I will indicate the right hand side for the back that will also have an opening. Then cut it out. Okay, all right, so at this point now I've taken it out. Then I'll go ahead and place on the down part to be very sure that it's actually the same. So what I did was that I added a bit inches for joining allowance, seam allowance. Okay, so afterwards, if I'm very certain, I'll go ahead and trim it out. Okay, well, I'll be leaving about half an inch for my joining allowance. Okay, so I'll just follow the shape of what I just sketched now. Alright, so this is actually for the back side of the dress. In case you want to know how the back looks like, this is actually how the back looks like. Okay, this is what I have. So I will be getting more of this for the turn up. Then I'll be getting for the neck, for the turtled neck. All right, so I'll be using a neck wideness of about 17 inches. 17 inches. All right, the main measurement is actually 16 inches, but I added extra 1 inch, making 17 inches. And the wideness of the neck is 2 inches wide. 2 inches wide. All right, so I'll be making do of 2 inches wide. So after sewing, I should be having about 1.5 inches wide. All right, so this is it. Actually for the HALTER neckline. All right, so this is what we have at this point. So I'll just take this to my sewing machine now. Then I actually got a little fabric for this, wideness of about 1.5 inches to sew this. I placed it at the wrong side of my fabric, then I will sew it all the way to the right side, to the other side of my fabric. I'll sew this, take the shape. All right, I'll just sew it straight, then stitch. Afterwards, I'll be taking the extra thread out, then I'll go ahead and notch that middle part. The middle part has a curve. Right, I'll go ahead and notch it because I want it to really fit perfectly. After notching, I'll just go ahead and top stitch it at the right side. All right, so this is actually for the neckline, the opening at the middle. All right, so I'll be using my bias to do this sewing. Okay, so I'll just ensure to take exactly the shape of it. I'll just ensure to take exactly the shape of this. So once I get to any side that has an edge, I'll make a little plinting on my bias, then sew. All right, okay, so I'll sew all the way to the other side till I get to the side I started my stitches. Okay, then I'll just stitch and take off the excess bias out. Then I would have to turn it to the other side to balance it. Meanwhile, I will give all the edges I'll just give them a little bit notches so that they will have to sit perfectly. Okay, so this is it. I'm just top stitching it. All right. Okay, so this is exactly what it looks like. All right, so when doing that, everything will be neat. All right, in short, to actually make your stitches very, very neat, because these stitches will actually show at the front of your dress, so it has to be very extremely neat, right? So if you find this video very helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Okay, so at this point now, we'll go ahead and all right, so I'll fold my neckline into two to get the middle, then fold the extra fabric into two to place at the middle. Then afterwards, I'll have to pin all of them. All right, so at this point now, we'll just sew the neckline, okay, using 1/2 inch to do this sewing. All right, so I placed the fabric for my turtleneck on the wrong side of my fabric. All right, so I'll just sew and turn up all the sides of the neckline. All right, so once that is done, I'll be taking this out. Okay, then I'll just turn it this way, then stitch, close up the sides. It's about 1/2 inch. Then I will do the same thing to the other side of the turtle neckline. All right, so meanwhile, this is actually the wrong side of it. So once this is done, I'll go ahead and flip to the right side. then top stitch on my neckline. All right, so I'm top stitching actually. So after top stitching this, before top stitching, I'll go ahead and turn my armhole, the side for my armhole. All right, I omitted that. So this is the back, this is the arm, this is the back side. This is how it ought to be. Okay, this is what it looks like. This is the back opening and all. All right, so this is what it looks like. So this is the turtle neckline and all. This is actually the slits and the zipper allowance. And for the back sewing, I've posted the tutorials already in my page, in my YouTube channel, so you can check my YouTube channel to know how I made the back. All right, so this is the final look of it, looking very beautiful and all. All right, this is how it looks like. Of course, the back is a crotch rope. All right, so this is exactly how it looks like. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. See you in my next video. Bye.